I am Siddhartha Mondal, second year electrical engineering department. Today I am going to discuss the topic BJT placing, concept of Q point and load line. The introduction of the BJT placing, a bipolar junction transistor, is a three-terminal semiconductor device that consists of two-point PN junction, which are able to amplify or magnify a signal. It is a current controller device. The three terminals of BJT are base, the collector, and the emitter. A signal of a small amplitude applied to the base is available in the amplified from the at the collector of the transistor. This is the amplification provided by the BJT. It does require an external source of DC power supply to carry out the amplification process. Next, I am saying about the stabilization of bipolar junction transistor. This is the process of making operating point independent of temperature changes or variation in the transistor parameter is known as the stabilization. The stabilization of operating point is necessary due to temperature dependent of IC, individual variations, and thermal run. Now we know about the biasing technique for BJTs. There is a four biasing technique: fixed bias, voltage divider bias, emitter bias, and collector feedback bias. A simple technique: fixed bias, a simple technique using a resistor connected base to establish the Q point. Voltage divider bias, a more stable approach using a resistor network to set the base voltage. Emitter bias employs an emitter resistor to counteract variations in transistor parameters. Collector feedback bias uses a resistor between the collector and base to stabilize the Q point. And next topic of the second part of the topic, understanding the concept of the Q point. What is the Q point? The Q point or Poisson point is the steady state operating point of bipolar junction transistor when no output signal is applied. There is the importance of Q point. What is the importance of Q point? The Q point determines the amplification and bias characteristics of the BJT, making it a crucial parameter in circuit design. The factor affecting of Q point. What is the factor affecting Q point? Q point is influenced by factor like supply voltage, transistor parameter, and biasing technique, all of which must be carefully considered. And then the next importance of the Q point in BJT operations, there is amplification. The Q point determines the BJT's ability to amplify input signal effectively and bias condition. The Q point sets the appropriate bias condition for the BJT, ensuring proper operation. Operating region. The Q point defines the BJT's operating region, whether in active, saturation, or cutoff mode. Efficiency. Proper Q point selection optimizes the BJT's efficiency and performance in the circuit. Now, there is a point factor affecting the Q point. There is a transistor parameter characteristics like beta, VBE, and VCE influence the Q point and must be considered. And biasing technique, there is a biasing technique which such as fixed bias or voltage divider bias affect the Q point. Supply voltage. Supply voltage level has a direct impact on the Q point and BJT's operation region. Temperature. Changes in temperature can alter the transistor parameter, causing the Q point to shift. There is a visualization of the load line, collector characteristic curve. The collector characteristic curve represents the relationship between collector current and collector emitter voltage. And intersection point, the intersection of the load line and the collector characteristic curve define the Q point, the BJT's operating point. What is the load line? The load line is a graphical representation of the load impedance, allowing the operating point to be determined. There is analyzing BJT characteristics. using the load line. Uh, Collector characteristic curve. The curve represents the relationship between IC and VCE, and the load line. The load line receiving the load impedance and intersect the curve at the Q point. Operating region. The load line analyze reveal the BJT active, saturation, and cutoff region. There is a conclusion of the topic. As technology continues to evolve, the understanding and application of bipolar junction transistor will become increasingly important. By mastering concept of viewpoint, road line, and biasing techniques. Engineers can unlock the full potential of BJTs in modern circuit design. There is the end of the topic. Thank you.